The Vancouver Canucks make a huge signing by bringing Daniel Sprong in on a one-year contract. I'm going to break down how he fits in this lineup, his cap hit, and how this might affect a young player on the Vancouver Canucks. We'll get into that later on this episode. Before I start, I just want to give a huge shout out to the 3,956 you guys. Just 44 subscribers away from 4,000, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to push for 4,000 before midnight, so make sure to go down and hit it, as we'll be covering everything to do with the Canucks, from prospects, game recaps, trades, signings, anything you can think of, and you'll never want to miss another episode. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Canucks make a huge signing. Now, obviously, there's speculations floating around, and it finally happened. As you can see from the Vancouver Canucks, General Manager Patrik Allvin announced that the Canucks have agreed to terms with forward Daniel Sprong on a one-year contract. Now, like I said, there were reports floating around about this constantly. The Canucks were interested. He was a free agent that a lot of teams were looking into, but the Canucks did get a gem in a guy like Daniel Sprong. Now, when you do look at Daniel Sprong's contract, he comes in at $975,000, and once again, this is a one-year contract signed by the Vancouver Canucks and was reported by Elliotte Friedman. When you do look at Daniel Sprong, I did break him down before, but I will go through it again. In 76 games for Detroit last season, 18 goals, 25 assists for 43 points. He had 160 shots, 16 takeaways, 26 giveaways, playing 12 minutes per game. Now, the biggest thing with Sprong at the age of 27, he still has room to grow. This is a guy that is a prolific goal scorer that doesn't really get a lot of trust in the top six, hence why he's only playing 12 minutes per. But the biggest thing with bringing in a guy like this in a Rick Tocchet system is Tocchet's going to get the best of him. We've seen Rick Tocchet bring the best out in guys like Connor Garland, Tocchet, Joshua, Höglander. There's so many players that has thrived under a guy like Rick Tocchet, and I think this is where it will be huge, bringing in a guy like this on a cheap one-year contract under $1 million. Now, the biggest thing is with a guy like Daniel Sprong at the age of 27 from the Netherlands is the fact that he had back-to-back 40-point seasons with the Seattle Kraken, having 46 points and then 43 points with the Detroit Red Wings, scoring 21 goals with the Krakens and 18 with the Red Wings. A guy like Daniel Sprong is going to come in and consistently add offense into your bottom six. He's a guy that can play in the middle six, and if he does get trust from a guy like Rick Tocchet, he might even slide into maybe even the top six. Like I said, with Daniel Sprong, you're not getting a lot of defense. You're not getting a lot of backchecking. I'm not saying he's a terrible defender, because he will backcheck, but he's not going to be the best defensive player. But that's where you kind of get into the lines. Obviously, with the lines, the top six is more of a 1A, 1B kind of situation. Danton Hyman, JT Miller, and Brock Boeser, I think this line will work. I think this line they should look at keeping throughout the season. Adding a guy like Danton would be perfect. This is where the second line comes in. If a guy like Daniel Sprong can come in and kind of show his worth, show Rick Tocchet that he can play defense, that he will backcheck and will bring out more than just scoring, I think playing along a guy like Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk would be perfect for his game. Two guys that can help defensively, a guy like Sprong that will be perfect in the bumper spot for a guy like Elias Pettersson on the power play, maybe even in the just 5-on-5. He's a guy that's going to add more scoring on a wing like Petey. Yes, Höglander did have a good season. Yes, he's had a career high in goals. But the biggest problem with Höglander is he thrived so much in the bottom six against a lower competition. I think that's where you can see Höglander maybe drop down into the bottom six if you do want to give Sprong a chance. Obviously, in the bottom six, you have Dakota Joshua, Teddy Bluger, and Connor Garland. This is the line I don't want to really break up. I think this line is going to be awesome. And then once again, you still have this deep team where you could run Höglander, Pius Suter, and Kiefer Sherwood. This would add so much scoring to the Canucks. Each line would have someone that scored 20 goals or close to 20 goals last season. Some lines even have multiple players that had scored 20 goals last season. So bringing in a guy like Sprong, putting him into your middle six, maybe he starts the season as a scratch, and maybe he comes in and gets someone else scratched. Daniel Sprong is going to be perfect. Like I said, a guy that has scored almost 20 goals in back-to-back seasons. A guy that had 18 goals last season and 43 points, playing just 12 minutes time on ice per. Sprong is on a prove me contract. He wants to come in. He wants to show his worth. Maybe the Canucks only have him for 1 year, but if he does win the Stanley Cup and the Canucks do hoist it, who cares if you bring in a guy and he goes to get the bag somewhere else? This is a guy that's on the Canucks. The Canucks got one of the biggest bargains on free agency for under $1 million per year. What's your guys' thoughts on bringing in a guy like Daniel Sprong? Where do you think he plays in the lineup? How many goals do you think he can score? Because I think he's going to have another 20-goal season. I know I say that with almost everyone on the Canucks, but this team is poised to have another special year. But that really gets into the second topic today, which is Podkolzin the odd man out? Like I said, with these lines, working your way down through, everyone has shown their worth on this Canucks organization. I'm going to say I'm not saying that Podkolzin is a guy that hasn't showed his worth, but when looking at this team, the top six, the middle six, the bottom six, everyone had great years. Obviously, you have new faces in Kiefer Sherwood, a guy like Danton Heinen, and Jake DeBrusk. But every one of these guys in the top 9 had productive seasons. Dakota Joshua had his best season of his career. A guy like Connor Garland looked like a madman that couldn't be stopped on the ice at all last season. Elias Pettersson still had a good year. JT Miller had a phenomenal year. But it gets down to the fourth line, and the youngest player and the cheapest player to have on that fourth line with Podkolzin is obviously maybe Daniel Sprong coming in. Now, a guy like Podkolzin is someone that has a lot of worth on this Canucks team, but he really hasn't broken out yet. He was selected 10th overall in the 2019 draft. At 23 years old, Podkolzin hasn't had that breakout season. In his first year with the Canucks, he looked great with 26 points in 79 games. We've seen after that, it dropped down to in 39 games, he had 7 points, leading into last season where he had 2 points in 19 games. Now, Podkolzin does bring a lot more than just scoring, a lot more than just passing. He brings physicality. When you look at Podkolzin, he is on a $1 million contract. It is next season and the year after, 2024, 2025, and expires in 2025, 2026. When this expires, he'll still be in RFA. He'll still be 25 years old. This is a guy that, yes, you want him in your lineup. Yes, Rick Tocchet's going to want to get him into games, but I think this is the most ideal guy that hops in and out of the lineup with Daniel Sprong depending on matchups, if you need physicality, if you need goal scoring, if you just want to shake things up. Like I said, Podkolzin brings a lot more than just scoring. This is a guy that last season in 19 games had 70 hits, 3 block shots. The year prior to that in 39 games, he had 52 hits. And in 79 games in his rookie season, he had 84 hits. 70 hits in 19 games is outstanding. This is a guy that's not afraid to go into corners, a guy that's going to throw his body, a guy that's going to physically wear down people. This would be awesome in a series like the Nashville Predators, but when you need scoring, when this team's on a bit of a slump, I think Daniel Sprong might be the better fit in the lineup. Like I said, what's your guys' thoughts on Podkolzin? What's your thoughts on Daniel Sprong maybe coming in and replacing him? Would you rather Sprong sit in the press box to start the year? Let me know down in the comments. But speaking of comments, we'll get in everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. And the comment today comes from Dustin John 7869, and they say 3,950. You're getting there, bro. Fresh subscriber here. Shout out to you, Dustin. And if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We're so close to 4,000. I'm really hoping we can hit it tonight. The endless support you guys have shown is outstanding. We're the first year in, and we started halfway through the year, seeing the community grow. It's just been awesome. It's so exciting to see this growing and how much next season could mean for everyone with this channel, with you guys, and seeing where we can take this. If you guys have any suggestions on what you like to see us cover, maybe it's like games, anything like that, let us know down in the comments. You could be featured on the next episode as comment today. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. I've been your host, Mark Bai. I'm severely sunburnt, and take care.